Hello, scaredy cats. Welcome back to Jump Scare, the weekly show where I bring you into the frightening world of horror. And today I'm here with Garrett Graham, and we are going to review the film of this winter, summer?
Of the week, at least.
The film of the week, film of the year, It. A lot of people were really nervous about whether or not it was going to be, one, faithful to the book, or at all similar to the original series of TV movie with Tim Curry. I think the first moment people were nervous was definitely when we saw Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise for the first time.
Mm-hmm. And I, for one, was also really nervous about it when I saw Pennywise for the first time. I ultimately kind of came back around. I enjoyed this movie. I didn't necessarily ask for it. And
I didn't ask for this.
Yeah, and when the first images of Pennywise came out, that was sort of a red flag for me.
Yes.
But I was ultimately pleasantly surprised by how Bill Skarsgård ultimately portrayed the character. But when I first saw those images, which are very, very dark and very juggalo and very contrived and constructed, like someone's doing like a spooky Cirque du Soleil version of Pennywise. Because what made the original Pennywise so uncanny, and love or hate the miniseries, it seems like the only thing anybody likes about the miniseries is Pennywise.
Yes.
And he looks like he could have just stepped off of an actual circus 5 minutes ago.
He still had a human look to him, and that's something that Tim Curry sort of fought for, was I still want to look like a man, but as a clown.
Not a haunted house attraction.
Yeah, Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise does look very inhuman. They definitely did a more...
And they lean into that.
Yes.
I mean, you're from the moment he says, you know, he's in the sewer, which one of my biggest things with the conceit of the whole story is I don't know what child or grown adult wouldn't flee immediately from anyone soliciting them for anything from a gutter.
Yeah.
But I do like how very early in that scene, the extra weird nature of it is immediately revealed. I mean, he's got some weird, non-human, extra world powers here, and he's not just a mere clown in a gutter.
Exactly.
Which makes it a little bit more interesting. And it's like, if you're not gonna go the Tim Curry route of making him basically look like a creep person who just wandered off the circus, then yeah, you might as well go full extra-dimensional alien.
Yeah, plus I think that this new look really does set him apart from the original It, and lets the film stand on its own, rather than, I mean, people will compare it to It, but I mean, that's natural. I mean, even we are comparing it to the original film.
And the miniseries both jump back and forth between them being adults and being children. And I think a lot of people, I mean, possibly even half or more of the audience, is going into this story kind of knowing what's up beforehand, knowing that at least that most of these characters live to be adults. But for this new story, which, you know, and again, I think this is also a good idea, you don't have to know anything about anything to go in and start this movie, which is good. But the movie only talks about them as kids. You know, it completely separates out the story of them as kids from the story of them as adults. And I think that's a wise idea.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know if any of these characters live to adulthood. If you're cutting back and forth, or if you're even just aware in the marketing that, you know, X number of these characters will live to be adults, you know, like you were saying, it takes a lot of the stakes out of it.
Exactly.
And that's how I feel watching the miniseries anyway.
The film seems more high stakes, it seems a lot more suspenseful, plus you're getting an emotional connection to these characters, which I think the film did an incredible job. I mean, Stephen King said alone in this little book called The Stephen King Companion that the story of it is about childhood and kind of finding your place in becoming an adult. And I think the film, I mean, even the original one, really did capture that feeling of childhood. You were like, oh, I remember, you know, riding like bikes with my friends and all of that. Like you could like, put yourself.
And look how young Seth Green is. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very strange.
And you know, and it ought to be said that I had a suspicion going in, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
The original It miniseries, is a terrible movie with terrible acting, and it's not a good movie. But Pennywise's performance as It and all the horror moments that make up roughly 10 minutes of a 3-hour epic are really good and really haunting, and have legitimately disturbed a whole lot of people, including many people that I know. And I was afraid going in that everything surrounding the clown, the production values, the overall storytelling, the tension building, and all the times that we deviate from this clown mold, I was convinced that all of those things would probably be firing on all cylinders and look really good.
Yeah.
But this clown itself might end up being really disappointing.
Yeah.
It looked a little bit too constructed, a little bit too hot topic, a little too...
Yeah, that was my first impression
a little too
as
juggalo.
well, yeah.
But I was ultimately surprised. I had a lot of fun going into this movie, and I think that also, credit needs to go not just to Bill Skarsgård, but also to the makeup effects team and the special effects team in post-production that brought together this character, because, with Pennywise in the miniseries, you put some pancake makeup on Tim Curry, and he's got it. He's on this. And maybe spend a little bit more money on the stop-motion animated spider, because obviously you didn't. But with this new iteration of It, the effects team, I think, has done a really great job of bringing to life this extra-dimensional, shape-shifting elder god that has some unexplained preference for clowns, which to me is still kind of a major unanswered question in the whole concept here. And I think the real answer to that question is that Stephen King felt like doing a clown thing right now, and so we're doing a clown thing. I also think that it's wise that in all adaptations across the board, everyone has agreed that the 12-year-old orgy scene just needs to not see the light of day.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're all in agreement.
Yeah, that one was became a huge issue in a lot of different articles that I read. Like, why didn't they do this? This is why.
I mean, it's obvious why they didn't do it.
Yeah, it's a very young cast.
The question is, why did you do it? Because I get the explanation. Yeah, they're innocent and now they're not, and they got to go into adulthood. But Steven, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird, Steven. But he's got all the money and we don't.
I get what he's doing, and honestly, when you're a kid, you're curious about those things, and I think he knows that, we know that, and I think it is best that the film kind of left that out. But besides that, I think we should talk about some of the scares in the film and whether or not that they were effective. Of course, the first one that we talked about was Georgie's arm being ripped off. But the next big scares, we had each of the children being met by Pennywise, but each of their scares were catered to them based off of their own personal fears. What was your favorite sort of scare from the film, based off of
which one actually kind of got to me the most?
Yeah.
I think, there may have been a few jump scares that caught me off guard, and so those really scared me. But I'll actually say my first scare with this movie, before I get on to the real answer to your question, the first scare for me actually came before I even went and saw the movie.
Really?
And I don't know if this was part of the guerrilla marketing or if it was a mere coincidence, and the fact that I don't know is what makes it good guerrilla marketing, I guess. But I actually saw a red balloon attached to somebody's mailbox in my neighborhood. Could have been somebody having a birthday party. It was just one red balloon, stayed up for many days, and it could have just been somebody taking it upon themselves.
Maybe they're an It fan.
Maybe they're just a fan. And I think I saw elsewhere that other people were seeing red balloons pop up in different places. It's an easy prop to get a hold of, whether you're a secret employee of the guerrilla marketing team or not. But that was my first kind of scare, because I thought,
you're like, do I need to
makes you look around.
Lock up my house? Oh, there's no point, because it has very incredible powers.
Yeah.
So there's no running away.
Well, but again, even with the incredible powers, and this has to do with the scares too, on the one hand, he's a shape-shifting, everywhere, throughout time being, but on the other hand, you can whack him with a stick.
Yeah, exactly.
And stab him.
What they did at the spoiler end of the film, they beat the living...
And whack him with sticks.
Shiz out. He became a piñata.
He became a polymorphous outer space piñata full of evil.
You know what? Birthday party idea? Make a Pennywise piñata.
And just fill it with tentacles.
Yes. Fill it with tentacles. Give the kids some whacking sticks or a baseball bat. Best day of your life.
It'll be a bonding exercise.
It really would. And you know what? With you should get some red balloons. Fill it with fake blood. Get the kids some darts. Boom. Fun for the whole
we're doing
family.
the marketing for you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We basically just planned every single birthday party for the rest of their natural lives. You're welcome.
But to answer your question more directly, the scare that I thought was most effective, or that kind of got me the most in the actual movie, I really liked when they went into the creepy old house, and after one of the characters falls and seriously injures themselves in a way that raises the stakes, and it makes their appearance, and they're inside of a refrigerator. And this is a great example of a kind of combination of Bill Skarsgård having to do a physical shtick, but also the effects team coming in to make sure that it is capable of something that no human body should be capable of. So he reveals himself as being kind of packed up and folded into the refrigerator in an impossible way. And he unfolds himself in an impossible way, and you can't quite tell, at least I couldn't quite tell, where the trickery ends and an actual human body begins. And then he does this weird kind of jaunty, mocking approach as this other character is helpless and has to watch it approach. And it's not super, besides him unfolding himself from the refrigerator, it's just the full-on creepy clown coming for you. It's kind of what I was waiting for the whole movie. Because there's all these, diversions into leprous people with, horrible diseased faces.
Twisted woman with a flute. And
creepy paintings. And I thought that the bit with the painting where he corrects the frame, and it's the actual frame that we're watching, that's a good little...
I liked that shot.
I'm going to steal that one
nice.
of these days.
That
That's a
was
good one.
Shot. Whoa, I was thinking about the shot and I got lost in it.
But I will say though, I wasn't totally convinced by the scariness of the actual old lady come out of the painting. That was a cool little trick.
I liked that. I didn't, of course they're gonna show her, but I don't know. It wasn't as effective for me as it was for the kid who was experiencing it. But the whole folding himself up in the refrigerator, I bet, he doesn't have to go to baggage claim. He could just go on his carry-on
You save
luggage.
a lot of money on flights though.
I bet he does a lot of traveling.
Is it lit, or will we just nitpick it?
I think we're gonna nitpick it. Because you have to nitpick it before you decide whether or not you think it's a pile of dookie, or if you think it's fire.
Or something else that rhymes with the title of the